I will start with the origin of the big idea. And this is that fact, that on one hand, you have the gender pay gap, statistics. And on the other hand, you have most companies that says that of course they pay men and women the same. Now, in absence of hard facts, whom to believe for employees? And then for companies, how to communicate with credibility? I'm the proud mother of a daughter and of a son. So you understand I was quite touched by that image, by that sentence that says that we better prepare our daughter for working life and give her less pocket money. In that audience, there are quite a few students, young women, young men. What would you have thought if your parents had behaved that way? Now, let me illustrate what it means in the working life. Recently, I was talking to a woman. She came to me and she said, I'm an ex-partner in one of those big auditing firms. And one day, my CEO came to me with a big smile and he said, well, we checked equal pay in the company, and you know what? We're doing pretty good. We have a 4% gender pay gap. Well, I tell you, she didn't react exactly the same, because she said, at my level of salary, 4% is no small money. And we can imagine that this 4% could amount to what? 16, 20,000 Swiss francs a year? She could almost buy a car, right? Every year. Well, let's have a look at some statistic on the gender pay gap. On the worldwide level, it's 23%. In the States, you have 22%. In Europe, it's 16.4%, and 15.1% in Switzerland. Those are facts. Many voices are advocating around the world, such as President Obama or Patricia Arquette at the Oscar ceremony. But also, the Pope Francisco, last year said that the gender pay gap is a pure scandal. Well, there is also a mounting pressure from governments in Switzerland and around the world. They want to change the legislation to force companies to check whether they have equal pay and then publish it in their annual reports. This is quite a challenge. Now, why is there so? Why would a government take this drastic action? Well, they will do it because actually the gender pay gap has an economical impact. For Switzerland, it has been estimated to 7.7 billion Swiss francs. And Switzerland is a rather small country, isn't it? Well, now imagine that you would do that calculation on a worldwide basis, what this would amount to. Look at these two words, equal pay. Rather uncomfortable, isn't it? Those are two very sensitive words, very emotional. And this is why it was necessary to come up with a practical idea. Some years ago, I decided I would create equal salary, a certification for companies to check and then promote, communicate internally and externally that they have equal pay for men and women. Bringing transparency while preserving confidentiality. And this would allow them to attract and retain talent, and also for good governance purposes. How does it work? Well, salary data is analyzed with a methodology that has been developed with the University of Geneva. And then there is a qualitative audit that is conducted with international recognized auditing firms. Quite a few companies have done it, both in Switzerland and internationally. Now, when I talk about this to women, I get a very big wow. Wow, Veronique, this is what we need. This would be a great thing for my company, because I always wonder where we stand with that issue. Sometimes it goes even further. I have some women that will come to me and say, well, actually, I was in that large company and I decided to leave because I strongly felt, or sometimes I knew I was not receiving the same salary as my male colleague, and therefore it was demotivating, and I left. Now, of course, I'm talking to men too, and I don't get the same interest. I might get this, this is interesting, but most of the time, the reaction is, of course we're treating women and men the same. And you can see this is not an issue. And this consideration is reinforced, is supported by a French study that was conducted a few years ago with 1,200 managers. And it says that, it concluded with the fact that if 76% of women believe that they earn less than their male colleague, this is true only for 34% of men. So there is a different perception between men and women towards equal pay. Does it matter? Well, I show you another statistic. It is that 95% of CEOs are men. And you know, equal pay is a decision that has to be taken by CEOs. Now, if CEOs do not understand what is behind that issue, well, we may just wait another 100 years, right, to get equal pay. Well, I would like now to introduce you to Thomas Illy. He's the CEO of Lireco. It's a certified company in Switzerland. And Lireco, it's an international company. It's one of the world leaders in the distribution of office supplies. Actually, today should have been next to me. And unfortunately, he had to decline. He had a busy timetable. But nevertheless, earlier this year, we were presenting to an audience. And when I gave him the floor, and I said, you know, with enthusiasm that I'm very good with, well, Thomas, please tell us now why you wanted to do equal salary. Well, the first thing he said, well, I never thought I would do such a certification. I never thought I would have to do it. I would even consider redoing it. And he said, I always was convinced that you should treat men and women the same, and then I didn't give it a second thought. And when he started thinking about it, he also, he said, honestly, if I really think, I really thought deep down, well, I realized I was quite scared. Because I thought, are we really equal pay? Will that not show that we have some differences? Or maybe bigger differences? And what will that cost? And if this is the case, what about confidentiality breach? This would even cost more in terms of financial adjustments or loss of image. Nevertheless, his HR manager convinced him that things were okay within the company. He had checked. And then there was another important aspect. There was a business opportunity. They were going to send an offer for public markets. On public markets, companies have to sign a document that they respect equal pay. And if they do so, they accept the fact that they might be controlled by the authorities. And this is why they decided they would check whether they have that equal pay was a reality in order to know where they stood, not to have a problem. So there he is in front of that crowd and saying actually that they have done it. It was not easy, but they have made it. Not easy because it has high standards. So that's one of the person is happy about it. They have succeeded in doing it. But also, he is happy about that because they have shown they have a responsible attitude. And he said, actually, I'm quite proud. And when I asked him why, he said, I'm proud because I was brave enough to do it. He was brave enough to challenge his fears. He was brave enough to give visibility to what he believed in, even though there was some uncertainty. And he was so proud about that actually he also said that he wanted to bring that message to more CEOs, and I'm quoting him, because it is important for employees and companies, but also in doing so, it pushes away the threats of regulation, which might prove at the end more complicated. Therefore, because it is better for employees, because it is better for companies, because it is better for countries, because it makes a better world, we need brave men for equal pay. Thank you.